a 21-year-old living cerebral palsy. And I upload a new video every Monday and Wednesday all about living life with cerebral palsy and disability awareness. So if you like that, subscribe and I would love to have you. So today I have Larry Opsinky from STL Advocate. You've been on the channel before, you seen our video.
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
It's like a year and a half, probably 2 years ago, right? It was before COVID. No, it was during COVID because we did it on Zoom.
Right.
Right.
I think so. I'll link that down below, but you guys asked me a while ago what happened when parents of disabled adults were children passed away. So I brought in an expert. I don't know anything about that. So stay tuned, turn on subtitles. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Larry Opsinky. Thanks, Anna, for having me.
Yeah.
I've known Anna for a while. Is it okay if I show Lily and stuff
yeah.
too? Okay, so I am a dad, and I am also a professional disability advocate. I am here at Anna's house today. Anna used to live down the street from us, and Anna and my daughter Lily went to school together. Lily's 22, and here I'm going to show you because Lily and Lily's one of Lily's caregivers, Grace, is here with us. So I'm going to just swivel this around. That's Grace, and that is Lily. Lily, you have anything to say? So Lily's what, a couple years older than you, Anna? Something like that?
21.
Yeah, so Lily's going to be 22 or 23 this year.
Nice.
So, and I have for the past 5 or 6 years spent my time, I volunteered thousands of hours. I didn't know anything about disability until Lily was like 2 years old. Not growing up, nothing like that. Lily has a younger brother, bigger but younger. He's 18 years old, Sam. And Sam's neurotypical, and Lily was diagnosed at 2.5, and I took a bunch of classes with the state, and I started volunteering thousands of hours, both local and state and federal, school board and Department of Justice and the State Protection and Advocacy Board. And after years and years of doing that, volunteering for that, I decided I wanted to make that my full-time job. So I hung up my little shingle as STL Advocate, and I started helping people of all ages. So that's kind of where that's who I am. That's where I came from. My wife and I live in Chesterfield. Lily lives with us at our house. And you introduced me as an expert, and I don't know if I'm an expert. I know a lot of stories. I think it's constantly trying to figure out how to keep learning.
Definitely.
So.
Even me.
Yeah, I use the line with Lily's brother Sam all the time. What did you learn today? Wilt. What I learned today, because every day there's an opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You guys asked me what happened when and if parents passed away, and I answered that question with one, how much question was, depending on your disability, and 2, we have facility benefits that help us live. So I'm gonna talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, so I tell families and individuals with disability that I help, it's a big topic. I mean, what do you do when you're not a kid anymore, basically, when you want to be an adult? And that sort of adult life, I try to simplify it into sort of 3, I call them silos. And the first silo, and everything in an adult life with someone, I'm going to square this up so it's a little more centered here. Is that okay? Everything with an adult, dealing with adults with a disability, you can put it into one of 3 sort of categories. And the first is finance. And that might mean having a job, that might mean having government programs, that may mean having family resources or something else. The second is where you're going to live. And, it's easy to begin with because you're still at home. You're living in your own house, but maybe you don't want to stay in the house, or maybe your family doesn't want to stay in the house. Maybe you could stay there, but your family's ready to be done and go and retire or do something else.
Right.
And where you're going to live. And part of that decision, part of that topic includes, what do you need? What does the individual need as far as supports and caregiving and stuff, people to be healthy and safe and productive in their house independently? So that's sort of the caregiver piece.
Right.
And then the third silo, and it's as important as the other two, the third silo is transportation. Because without transportation, you can have all the funding set up and the job and whatever else. You can have the place to live, but if you're relying on one person to drive you all over the place, and that one person is not available for whatever reason anymore, you're stuck. You can't go anywhere, and that it doesn't mean anything. So transportation are the three topics. So,
yeah. And when I graduated in high school, I had no idea what I was doing, and so my parents decided to move into a handicapped accessible home which was already built for someone with a disability, because the previous owner had a daughter who was in a car accident. So I now live with my parents, but I also have to bring in caregivers to help me too.
You have a nice setup here, by the way. Anna, I mean, you get a chance, come see Anna's. And she's got this whole sort of like apartment on the side of the house and her own door, and it's all accessible. You saw Lily uses a wheelchair, so we were able to roll in and out. It's nice rig. And pool, nice view out here. Yeah. But that, not everybody has that. So here, let's talk. You asked about Social Security and funding. So that's that first silo. So, once you become an adult, you need to have resources or money to live. And a lot of people with disabilities work. And there's a variety of different types of jobs and different types of pay and things like that. There's competitive work, which the state has funding to help support people with disabilities get a competitive job, sort of helps train them, So let's say, for example, you want to work at a grocery store. And let's say you want to work, stocking shelves at a grocery store. That seems like a fun job that you could do. Well, maybe you need a little support to start that job, but after you get sort of training and support. And when I say support, I mean somebody there to help you. Like, hey, the eggs do not go back with the bread. The eggs go over there in the thing, to help you with that. And also to help the store. Say, hey, Anna is going to need a break every 45 minutes, or Anna's going to need something to sit on because she can't stand and do that. And they help the store and the employee learn how to work together, and then they fade away and that person stays on the job and you get a paycheck and all that. A lot of people with disabilities, so that's competitive employment, and then there's a variety of different types of employment that obviously some earn a lot of money and some earn very little, if no money, even to the point of volunteer employment.
What I did, I've been around here for a while, I was able to contact my horseback riding facility and tell them, hey, I really like riding here, I want to spend more time here, is there anything I can do? And then I went on to tell them what I can do. I can't do any mobility with my picking up horse poop. That's what another volunteer did, but I can sit at a desk without any help. And they're like, what about a welcomer? We'll try it. I said, yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, people with disabilities can have a lot of different jobs. And what's one of my personal things, I'm a big proponent of everybody should be able to have some type of job, even if it's a volunteer job, but it's still a job. It's still, if you're volunteering, people still need your help. They grow to rely, the business grows to rely on you being there doing your volunteer thing, because that's a helpful thing. I'm a really big proponent of that. So everybody with a disability can have some type of meaningful work experience, whether it's paid or not. Now, obviously, if it's not paid, it doesn't fill up that first silo, because you need money to live. You got to pay rent, or, you know, even if you live in your parents' house, once you're 18 years old, you're an adult, and you know, you should be responsible for where you live with room, and they call it room and board. So it's like rent and food and stuff like that. So in order to pay that, some people with disabilities are eligible for what's called Social Security income, SSI. Now, that is a whole big giant topic, Anna. You and I could do 3 sessions in a row and still not cover all of the Social Security. But the short version is SSI you can apply to, and if you have a disability, a permanent disability from birth, you're entitled to get, almost $800 a month now?
$781.
$781. So right now it's $781 a month, which, you know, over the course of a year is a little more than $8,000. That's certainly not enough for most people to live off of, but it's definitely right, exactly. And out of that monthly money, that money gets sent from the government. Once you qualify and do all the paperwork and everything else, it gets deposited into a bank account, and every month you pay your rent and your room and board out of that.
And then I also pay for entertainment and harbor. Whenever I go out to eat, all my YouTube editing, where I pay for that too. So,
yeah, I mean, it's meant to. So that's a federal program. There are some state programs that can help. Now, they don't actually give you money, but they can help pay for things, like we were talking about caregivers and things like that, but also equipment. I mean, you've shown them how you use your stander and your...
the whole video on all my equipment.
Right, so, you know, so there's programs that the state has through Medicaid, and Medicaid's an insurance program, and most people think Medicaid's just health insurance, and it's not all it is. There's 2 sort of halves of Medicaid. There's the health insurance side, and then there's it's called waiver services side. And the waiver services side are what people with disabilities access, and they will help pay for a stander or a walker
or a bike
or a ramp. Cars, they won't buy a car, but if you have a car that needs like modifications, like Lily's car, our car at home, that we drove to get over to Anna's house, we have a ramp in the back of it, and Lily rolls. So the conversion to make it a ramp, the state will help pay for things. And there's a lot of different things that waivers pay for. So that sort of still goes in the financial thing, because it's not like money you get, but it helps pay for things.
Money you have, but you don't do every minute.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, so that's the job funding side. And look, everybody's got different levels that they are able to get, and everybody's got different levels of lifestyle that they're used to.
I have a friend of mine who had a cerebral palsy, and he only affected in one arm and one leg, and he met in not a living, but a living facility for people with disability. Here in the St. Louis area, and he absolutely adores it.
Right. So, I mean, I think the big question we're still trying to go to is, what do you do when, right? So, I mean, everybody has to make a plan, and that's what it comes down to. And some people have plans that they guide, and some people maybe aren't able to do that entirely themselves, and they might have guardians or lawyers or helpers or things like that help them work up a plan. But so what a lot of families do is what's called a letter of intent. And that is sort of a big giant document that answers in writing all the questions that everybody is asking about here. Like, what happens with health insurance and what happens with, so they fill out, they'll work on something like that to answer all those questions. But the technical side of it is you have to start planning for the next transition.
Yeah, and I know we've done that as a family. We talked about it multiple times.
Right.
Yeah.
And just because you have a plan doesn't mean it's set in stone.
Yeah.
It can change.
Yeah, but for right now, I know, like for me, I have a plan that I know I would want to move maybe with one of my brothers.
Right.
That's my plan right now, but down the road, I might have a relationship and decide I want to live with my boyfriend or husband, whatever, and I'm open to that. So.
Right. So, I mean, figuring out sort of, I tell people to focus 5 years, 10 years, but the important part of it is you have to identify what supports you're using today that might need to change and how to change. And that's where the plans come in.
Right.
So, now you get a lot of support from mom and dad, right? They're here.
Right.
So, and
then,
Lily gets supports from me and my wife, her mom, and her brother.
Right. Same with me, my math help.
Right. So, what does the next step look like? So I tell people all the time that, okay, first thing you got to focus on is how you filling up your week. What are the 40 hours in the week that maybe you're not in school anymore, right? Of course you're not in school. That's this is all about after school. But maybe you're in college, or maybe you're not. How are you going to fill up all the daytime hours? Where are you going to go? How are you going to get there? And you have to plan that out. And if right now it's all reliant on one person, you have to start to identify, like you'd be a good example, right? So now your mom drives a lot and Max drives a lot.
And my friends.
And your friends, right? But let's say you get a job. And your friends are going to have stuff to do, and maybe mom and dad aren't going to be able to do it. So maybe it's maybe you start to think of instead of, because you can't, are you going to drive? You can't drive. Or you won't drive.
I thought about maybe adapting a car.
Right.
Because Max is going to be a mechanic.
Okay.
At some point. So we talked about him adapting.
That's cool. I mean, I know people with cerebral palsy who drive. I definitely know people. So that's not a, but right now you don't drive.
Right now I don't drive.
Right.
And don't have a plan to.
Right. So, but you need to plan, but maybe Uber is a choice.
I thought about that.
Or maybe taxi cabs, or maybe, we talk about sort of, how do you pay for all that stuff? Well, Uber's kind of expensive. If you have resources to pay for it in that first bucket, great, that works. You just have to get the logistics and the comfort level up. You can use some of that Medicaid waiver stuff that I talked about, right? You don't get paid directly, but you can use stuff. You can use it for transportation. They'll give you vouchers to use for call-a-ride or public transportation and I'm just talking St. Louis area, but these are things that you can do. But that's, how you're going to get to what you're doing during the day. So that's...
who's going to take you to activities?
Right.
For example, I'm part of a local advocacy group now. Even which I absolutely love. But I need someone to take me there and be with me there, because we now take notes.
Okay. So, and so the whole caregiving piece is a really big part of it for people with disabilities. Some people need a little help. Some people need a lot of help.
Yep.
Most people, if you're watching this video and you are a parent, most people need some kind of help,
Right.
whether they recognize it or not. And I think what I explained, and this is, I think, what I talked with you guys about early on, you got to sort of recognize, okay, here's all the things I do now,
Right.
you know, that I can help with now. And okay, how can I get someone else
Right.
to help me with those? And then it's a matter of, you know, finding that person. And a lot of times, and this is what the Medicaid programs work on, a lot of times they use natural supports. So right now, family is natural supports.
Right.
But natural supports can be the other people working at the grocery store with you. You get yourself to the grocery store. You might need help at the grocery store, but maybe there's a manager. Maybe there's somebody else who works in the shift that says, "Oh, yeah, I'll help Anna move this around or whatever."
Also, if you're out in public, at toilet, I know you can go up to the customer service desk and be like, "Hey, I need help hopping," and they will get another employee to put the hopping part next to you.
Right, exactly.
Or in front of you or wherever you need it.
So, I mean, knowing how to advocate for yourself and in the public for natural supports, but also recognizing that to get through your day, you need a certain amount of nat supports.
Right.
Some are going to be natural supports that you can ask. Like if you get to your meeting, let's say you get a ride to your meeting,
Right.
and you get into, somebody helps you get into the building, but then at the meeting, you're friends with someone at the meeting, and they can help you take notes.
Right, or I can bring my laptop.
Or your
I'm planning to do that this month.
So, I mean, those are things that in the short term you plan for. And once you sort of get that all going, all right, now the whole what do you do when no one else is around starts to make a little more sense.
Right.
So, yeah, transportation, natural supports. Where you're going to live is probably the biggest.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, a lot of people are sort of in their homes with their families.
Right.
And maybe their I tell people a lot, I tell clients a lot, and even friends and stuff that I talk with. Even though everything's fine now, it's not sustainable.
Right.
Because, you know, I help Lily all the time. I'm 56 years old, and, you know, in 10 years, I'm going to be 66 years old.
Yeah, and then
right?
honestly, I don't really probably would agree with me. We get tired of our parents.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Lily gives me the eye roll all the time about nothing makes her happier than having someone other than me or her mom help her, right? And you too.
Yeah.
So to start to recognize all through the day what supports you're getting naturally and try to either find a caregiver to help with those now. I know families, Anna, that have never had a caregiver, ever.
Right.
And they have adult children.
I heard that on the news. There was a person on PBS, New Hour, talking about that.
So it's not uncommon at all for families to just have done it all themselves the whole time.
Yeah.
You have to start if they need help. If there's no way they can be healthy and safe in their home without the parents supporting them, they have to start now with that transition.
Right.
With getting people because
and I kind of learned that too. I learned that early on in my freshman year of high school, honestly, when I started realizing I didn't want my parents around all the time. So I started to figure all that out and started to train people on my own.
Right. So, and you know, that's a good point. So it's once you recognize you need help, and once you get the first person.
Yeah.
So there's more funding, right? So I didn't talk about all the funding. So locally in the state of Missouri, at least, There is SB 40 funding. I'm not going to get into all the specifics, but let's just call it another little bag of cash that is available to people with disabilities that helps with respite care. And respite care is what your regular caregivers want to do something else, maybe go out to dinner or take a nap or go to the park, and someone comes in and helps. So it is caregiving, but it's not like the same thing every week. It's just once in a while.
Right.
Think of it, I hate this term, but think of it as babysitting, because that's what
Right,
people...
I'm happy when people say about my home.
Right.
No.
Yeah, no, it's not...
But
But that's what most people think of it when you think about that.
Right.
That's the term they
Right.
use, even though that, you're right.
Right.
I mean, but you have, so you start with the respite dollars, and it's some money that's available from the counties, and you qualify for it, and okay, so now someone comes over for 3 or 4 hours to the house, ideally somebody you know and trust, and
I do that.
And the other people leave. Right. And the other people leave and they get paid. They get paid. You have funding that pays for that. That's what I call the gateway drug to caregiving, right? Respite is the gateway drug, because until you acknowledge that
and
you
I
need help.
didn't do that a while, and I don't think my parents did either, honestly. They were having my brother around.
Right. And look.
And that's okay.
Everybody's got different lifestyles.
Right.
I think that's the best way to put it.
Right.
Some people aren't comfortable having other people around.
Right.
Some people have to have other people around. I mean, you have somebody who has both parents that are still working because it's expensive to have, a loved one with a disability, and they're trying to make everything work for them.
Yeah.
And they both have to work. You got to find somebody to help during the day because you got to go to the job.
Well, some people have medical problems that need a nurse. I met somebody on YouTube a week ago who had cerebral palsy and need nursing care.
Yeah, I mean, there's different levels of care. There's different... So figuring out how much you got to have to be healthy and safe. And that can include transportation. Yeah. Because, maybe you don't need him helping you out in your house, for 4, 5, 6 hours, but maybe you need him to take you to the grocery store or go to a doctor's appointment.
I made a video on this too. I order online for my milkweed and everything that I want. And then I put my order in and you turn it dry up. Okay. So I need someone to take me there.
You got to take, right, exactly. So, I mean, these are, so caregiving and what's, I call them supports, what kind of supports you need. And, for the most part, the hardest supports are the people. Right. Like finding the people, paying for the people, what kind of people. Right. And what you said before is super, super important. How do you train people? Yeah. Because, it's one thing to find somebody. And another for them not to know what they're doing. Exactly. And you got to be comfortable with it. Because a lot of times, look, full disclosure, a lot of times it's super personal stuff. It is. Honestly, I can tell you the biggest thing that I need help with, probably in addition to, holding my walker and driving, is the bathroom. It's the bathroom, right. It's the bathroom. And, bathroom, shower, bedtime route, changing clothes. Right. It's some really personal stuff. Right. So it's one thing to find somebody who you like and you trust. It's a whole nother thing to train them so that, A, it's done the way it needs to be done so that you're safe and everyone's safe. Right. But second of all, it's done the way you want to do it. Yeah, and that you hear transparent. But I have a lot of boys who tell me, because I like it that way, honestly. But, I'm okay with them knowing everything. Right. But it took me forever to get to that point. Well, and that's a privacy thing. That's a lifestyle. It's a personal thing. Though that's why I tell people you got to start with the caregiving thing if you don't do anything now, and you're gonna need caregiving, you gotta start. You gotta start, because it's a whole mental process.
I didn't want, and I was hanging out with him independently. I don't know what I would have done when I had to about own.
Right. So, okay, those are like the biggest of the adult topics. What else you want to delve into here?
I think that's good. The video gonna be long.
Long?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Now it's gonna be long. I think that's good. You might have any more comment them down here. I'll tell them to you.
Yep.
I can't. If I can't answer them, I'll tell them. And I will see you my next video. Don't forget our information down below. And right down here, it has it all down there. And subscribe if you're new. And I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.